State of Tech, the European edition. I'm Samantha Lawrence.
And I'm Bob Russell. Today, record-breaking semiconductor equipment sales hit $135 billion on the back of AI demand. Anthropic locks in a massive TPU deal with Google Cloud to supercharge Claude. Intel joins Elon Musk's ambitious Terafab chip manufacturing project. The EU Commission starts measuring AI's energy footprint under the AI Act. AI-powered research accelerates quantum computing breakthroughs and raises cybersecurity alarms, and a memory chip that works at 700 degrees Celsius. Yes, really. Let's start with semiconductors.
So the numbers are in, and they are big. Global semiconductor equipment sales reached $135.1 billion in 2025. That's a 15% jump from the year before. These figures come from SEMI, the industry association. And frankly, it's hard to overstate what's driving this.
It's AI, almost entirely. The front-end market, that's the wafer processing side, grew 12%. But the really eye-popping number is in the back end. Test equipment billings surged 55%. That's because of AI chips and high-bandwidth memory. Companies are racing to build out capacity for training and running ever larger AI models. And the equipment makers are the ones selling the shovels in this gold rush.
And it's not just one region. This is a global phenomenon. China, Taiwan, South Korea, the US, they're all pouring money into fab capacity. But here's where it gets uncomfortable for Europe. European semiconductor equipment spending actually declined 41% to just $2.9 billion. That's a second consecutive year of contraction.
Which is striking when you put it against the global trend. Everyone else is ramping up, and Europe is pulling back. Now, that doesn't mean European companies are irrelevant here. ASML, obviously, is at the heart of the most advanced chip-making on the planet. And there are European firms doing excellent work in niche equipment and advanced materials. But in terms of raw capacity investment on European soil, the gap is widening.
And that has real implications for the EU Chips Act ambitions. The whole point was to double Europe's share of global semiconductor production by 2030. But when you see investment flowing so heavily to other regions, you have to ask, is that target realistic?
The opportunity is still there. The demand isn't going away. If anything, it's accelerating. European firms that can carve out strong positions in specialized parts of the supply chain, packaging, testing, materials, they can still ride this wave. But the window is narrowing. The scale of investment happening elsewhere is just enormous, and the longer Europe lags on capacity, the harder it gets to catch up.
So the takeaway for European policymakers is pretty clear. The global chip build-out isn't waiting for anyone. Either you match the ambition with real capital, or you accept a smaller role in the AI hardware supply chain.
Let's talk about the infrastructure behind AI models, because Anthropic just made a move that tells you a lot about where this industry is heading. They've secured a multi-gigawatt deal for next-generation tensor processing units through Google Cloud and Broadcom.
Multi-gigawatt. Let that sink in. We're talking about power consumption levels that rival small cities. This is to support the continued development and scaling of Claude, Anthropic's AI models. Their CFO, Krishna Rao, described it as a disciplined approach to scaling infrastructure, which is a very polite way of saying they need an absurd amount of computing power.
And this is the reality of the AI race right now. The models keep getting bigger, the customer base keeps growing, and you need exponentially more compute to stay competitive. Anthropic clearly sees a future where demand for Claude far exceeds their current capacity, and they're locking in hardware now to stay ahead.
For European businesses, this is actually good news in one sense. More compute means more powerful, more reliable, and potentially faster Claude models. If you're an enterprise customer in Europe relying on Anthropic's tools, you should see better performance and availability.
But there's the regulatory angle. European regulators working on AI Act implementation are going to look at deals like this very carefully. When you have a handful of companies controlling gigawatts of AI compute capacity, that raises questions about market concentration. Who has access to this power? Who doesn't? And what are the environmental costs?
And that leads perfectly into our fourth story. But we'll get there. The environmental footprint of these massive data centers is becoming a real political issue in Europe. Deals like this will only intensify that conversation. Quick interruption. If you listen to The State of Tech regularly, hit that like button and subscribe. That way you'll never miss an episode. Okay, moving on.
Intel has officially joined Elon Musk's Terafab project. The goal? To fundamentally rethink semiconductor manufacturing by consolidating everything: logic fabrication, memory, packaging, testing, under one roof. The target is producing 1 terawatt per year of compute power, specifically for AI and robotics serving xAI, SpaceX, and Tesla.
1 terawatt per year. That is a staggering ambition. And for Intel, this is interesting timing. They've been trying to reinvent themselves as a foundry business, competing with TSMC and Samsung. Joining the Terafab gives them a massive anchor customer in Musk's ecosystem.
It's a very American story on the surface. U.S. companies, U.S. investment, U.S.-based manufacturing. But the ripple effects matter everywhere. For Europe, this highlights something uncomfortable: the sheer scale of vertical integration that the biggest players are pursuing. Europe's chip strategy involves building up capacity gradually. Meanwhile, Musk is talking about an entirely new model of chip production.
It does put pressure on the EU Chips Act ambitions. If the US is building these vertically integrated mega facilities, European fabs need to offer something different. Whether that's specialization, reliability of supply, or proximity to European markets, there has to be a value proposition beyond just making chips.
And there are still a lot of unknowns about the Terafab. The specific details of Intel's role haven't been fully disclosed. This could be revolutionary, or it could be one of Musk's characteristically ambitious timelines that stretches out. But even as a signal of intent, it tells you where the competition is heading.
European governments need to be paying very close attention.
The European Commission has launched a targeted consultation on measuring the energy consumption and carbon emissions of AI systems. This is a direct step towards implementing transparency obligations under the AI Act, and it could eventually lead to an EU-wide energy and emissions label for artificial intelligence.
Think of the energy labels you see on washing machines or fridges. Now imagine something similar for AI models. That's the direction the Commission is heading. And this connects directly to what we were just discussing about Anthropic's gigawatt-scale compute deals. Running these models consumes enormous amounts of electricity.
The consultation is part of a broader study to measure and promote energy-efficient AI within the EU. For developers and deployers of AI, this means new reporting requirements are coming. If you're building or running AI models that serve European users, you'll need to be transparent about your energy footprint.
This could genuinely set a global precedent. Just like GDPR became the de facto standard for data privacy worldwide, an EU energy label for AI could push the entire industry towards greater efficiency. Companies would rather build one energy-efficient model than maintain separate versions for different markets.
It also creates a business opportunity for European firms. If you specialize in green computing, sustainable AI infrastructure, or environmental impact assessment, you're about to have a lot of new customers. The regulation creates the market.
The key question is whether this stays practical or becomes bureaucratic overhead. If the framework is clear and workable, it could be genuinely transformative. If it's overly complex, it just becomes another compliance headache.
Here's a story that should worry every IT security professional in Europe. Researchers at Google and a quantum computing startup called Oratomic have used AI to dramatically accelerate quantum computing progress. They used large language models, including Google's Gemini and Anthropic's Claude, to optimize quantum algorithms, achieving performance improvements by a factor of 1,000.
1,000 times faster. And the implication is stark. Quantum computers capable of breaking current encryption could arrive significantly sooner than the timelines most organizations have been planning for. Security experts are saying the world is simply not prepared.
For Europe, this is a direct cybersecurity threat. Banks, hospitals, energy grids, government communications, all of these rely on encryption that quantum computers could eventually crack. If the timeline has just been compressed, then Europe's transition to post-quantum cryptography needs to accelerate dramatically.
European cybersecurity agencies like ENISA have been working on post-quantum standards, but this changes the urgency. It's no longer a problem for the next decade. It could be a problem much sooner, and the cost of being late is catastrophic.
The irony here is that AI is both the tool and the threat. AI accelerates quantum computing, which threatens the encryption that protects AI systems. It's a feedback loop that demands serious attention and investment from European governments and companies alike.
Bottom line, if your organization hasn't started planning for post-quantum cryptography, this is your wake-up call.
All right, let's end on something genuinely cool, or rather, extremely hot. Engineers at the University of Southern California have built a memristor device that works at temperatures up to 700 degrees Celsius. That's 1,300 degrees Fahrenheit. Your oven maxes out at about 250 Celsius. This thing keeps running almost 3 times hotter than that.
And it's not just surviving those temperatures. It's actually doing useful work. This chip can store data and perform matrix multiplication, which is fundamental to running AI. So we're talking about putting artificial intelligence in places that would destroy any conventional computer.
Think space probes diving into Venus's atmosphere, sensors inside nuclear reactors, control systems deep in geothermal wells, places where you currently can't have smart electronics because everything melts. This chip changes that equation.
For European industries, this is fascinating. Europe has major aerospace programs, a growing interest in geothermal energy, and significant nuclear infrastructure. Being able to deploy AI-powered monitoring and control in those extreme environments could improve safety and efficiency enormously.
The materials are clever too. Tungsten, hafnium oxide, and graphene, all incredibly durable. It's one of those breakthroughs where materials science meets computing and opens up entirely new possibilities. I just love the idea of an AI chip that can survive inside a volcano.
If it can handle 700 degrees, it can definitely handle a European summer. Barely.
That's setting the bar a little low, but fair enough.
Today we covered record semiconductor equipment sales driven by AI, Anthropic's massive TPU infrastructure deal, Intel joining Musk's Terafab project, the EU's move to label AI energy consumption, AI accelerating quantum computing and its cybersecurity risks, and a memory chip that thrives in extreme heat.
Want to know more or react? Visit stateoftech.eu or email us at info@doorzetters.net. State of Tech, the tech world in 15 minutes.